John Carter stood alone on the observation deck of the massive ship Vengeance, his eyes fixed on the holographic display, showing a field of rocks and dust floating in empty space. This was all that remained of Earth, the birthplace of humanity. 50,000 years had passed since its destruction, but the pain felt fresh to him. His ancestors were among the lucky few who escaped before the planet was shattered. The Galactic Council had deemed humans too dangerous to exist. 7 alien species who ruled the stars had voted to wipe out Earth rather than let humans join them among the stars. They feared what humans might become. The Council had been right to fear them. What the aliens didn't know was that humans had already sent small groups to distant stars. These survivors found a harsh planet they named Haven. There, cut off from the galaxy, they'd rebuilt and waited. And planned. "Admiral, the fleet is assembled," said a voice behind him. John turned to see Peter Wright, his second in command. Peter was tall and powerful, like all humans who had grown up on Haven. The high gravity and harsh radiation of their adopted world had changed them. 50,000 years of careful breeding and genetic enhancement had made them stronger, faster, and smarter than their ancestors. "Show me," John said. The hologram shifted to reveal 100 ships floating in formation. Each vessel was sleek and black, designed to be invisible to the Council's detection systems. The technology on these ships was far beyond anything the Council races possessed. Humans had developed along different paths, driven by their need for revenge. "We're ready to begin," Peter said. "The Council has no idea we exist. They think they erased us from history." John nodded and walked to the large window that looked out into actual space. The stars seemed cold and distant. Somewhere out there was Nexus Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Council. They had grown soft and complacent over the millennia. They had forgotten their crime against Earth. "Launch the first phase," John ordered. "Send in the infiltration teams." Peter tapped commands into his wrist device. On 6 of the ships, small craft detached and disappeared into the darkness, activating their stealth systems. They carried special agents who would blend in among the alien races. Their mission was to gather intelligence and prepare for the strikes to come. "Do you think they'll remember us when we reveal ourselves?" Peter asked. John's face hardened. "They'll remember. We'll make sure of it." He thought about the stories passed down through generations on Haven, how the Council had given humanity no warning, no chance to defend themselves. They simply arrived one day with a fleet of planet killers and tore Earth apart. The survivors who escaped watched it happen from their colony ships, helpless to stop it. "Lisa's team will reach Nexus Prime in 3 days," Peter said, referring to their top intelligence agent. "Once she's inside the Council archives, we'll know their weaknesses." John turned away from the window. The ship hummed with quiet energy around him. In the corridors, thousands of crew members worked with silent efficiency. They all knew their purpose. For 50 millennia, every human born on Haven had been raised with one goal: return to the stars and make the Council pay for what they did. "The Council believes they're gods," John said quietly. "They think they can decide which species lives and which dies. They've ruled without challenge for too long." "And now?" Peter asked. John's eyes were cold as space itself. "Now they learn what it means to face humanity's children. We are not the same species they try to exterminate. We are something new, something they never planned for." He looked once more at the hologram showing Earth's remains. "Begin the countdown. In 30 days, the Council will learn that Earth wasn't the end of humanity. It was just the beginning of their nightmare." Lisa Martinez moved with careful steps through the crowded spaceport of Nexus Prime. Her body looked like that of a Solvarian, one of the 7 alien species that made up the Galactic Council. The disguise was perfect. No scanner could tell she was actually human. 50,000 years of advanced technology had made such deceptions possible. The spaceport buzzed with activity. Aliens of all kinds walked, slithered, or floated by. Nexus Prime was the heart of Council power. The 7 ruling species believed themselves untouchable here. They had no idea that the descendant of a species they had destroyed now walked among them. Lisa checked her fake identity documents once more. Her cover story was solid. She was Televorn, a data specialist from one of the outer Solvarian colonies. The real Tela was safe and unconscious in a human holding facility. Lisa had studied her for months, learning every detail of her life and work. "Citizen Vorn, please proceed to Security Checkpoint 6, a robotic voice called out. Lisa didn't flinch. She had trained for this mission her entire life. At the checkpoint, a bored Araxian security officer waved a scanner over her. The device was designed to detect weapons, explosives, and unauthorized technology. It couldn't detect Lisa's enhancements. Her bones were reinforced with materials unknown to Council science. Her muscles were twice as dense as a normal Solvarian's. Her brain had neural implants that allowed her to process information at incredible speeds. "Purpose of your visit to the Central District?" the Araxian asked in the common tongue of the Council worlds. "Data archive access," Lisa replied in perfect Solvarian accent. "Outer colony historical records need updating." The officer barely looked at her credentials before waving her through. The Council races had grown lazy and complacent over millennia of unchallenged rule. They couldn't imagine any threat to their power. Lisa entered the massive central plaza. Above her, the 7 towers of the Council races reached into the sky, each one trying to outdo the others in height and grandeur. In the center stood the Council chamber, where the 7 high councilors made decisions affecting trillions of lives across thousands of worlds. She made her way to the Central Archives, a vast building that housed the collected knowledge of the Council races. Somewhere in its secure data vaults was the information humans needed, the locations of all Novium processing facilities. Novium was the key to the Council's power. This rare element made faster-than-light communication possible. Without it, the vast Council empire would fall apart, unable to coordinate across the galaxy. Cut off the Novium, and the empire would collapse into isolated worlds. At the archive entrance, Lisa presented her credentials again. The Medusan librarian studied them more carefully than the security officer had. "Outer colony records?" the Medusan asked, its voice like rustling leaves. "Which specific datasets do you require?" "Settlement patterns in the Outer Rim, specifically the Krell sector," Lisa replied. This was a planned answer. The Krell sector was close to where one of the main Novium facilities was rumored to be. The Medusan seemed satisfied and granted her access to a research terminal. Once seated, Lisa carefully inserted a tiny device into the terminal. It looked like a standard data transfer tool, but contained advanced human technology designed to bypass Council security systems. As she worked, she overheard 2 Council officials talking nearby. "Did you hear about the strange readings from the border sectors?" one asked. "Probably just sensor malfunctions," the other replied. "There's nothing out there except empty space." Lisa smiled slightly. The human fleet was moving into position, but their stealth technology made them nearly invisible to Council sensors. The officials were wrong. There wasn't empty space at the borders. There was an army of vengeance, 50,000 years in the making. Her device blinked green. Access granted. Now she could begin the real work of finding the Novium facility locations. Soon, humanity would strike its first blow against the Council that had tried to erase them from existence. The countdown had begun. Commander Ryan Kelly stood at the front of the small attack ship as it approached Krell AX. The planet looked peaceful from space, with its blue oceans and green landmasses. No one would guess it held one of the Council's most important Novium processing facilities, or that it was about to become the first target in humanity's revenge. "Stealth systems at full power," said Greg Miller, the ship's pilot. "Their sensors show nothing." Ryan nodded. Around him, 20 soldiers checked their weapons and gear. Each soldier was a product of 50,000 years of human evolution on Haven. They were stronger and faster than their ancient Earth ancestors. Their bodies had been further enhanced with technology the Council races couldn't even imagine. "Remember," Ryan told his team, This isn't just about destroying the facility. We need to get the technical data on Novium processing. That's the primary mission. The soldiers nodded. They all understood what was at stake. This first strike would set the tone for everything that followed. "We're in position," Greg announced, "ready to deploy." The attack ship hovered just above the atmosphere of Krell Ix, completely invisible to the planet's defense systems. Ryan gave the signal, and the floor opened beneath them. One by one, the soldiers dropped from the ship, special suits allowing them to control their fall to the surface. Ryan went last, falling through clouds until he could see the Novium facility below. It was a sprawling complex of silver buildings surrounded by high walls. Security looked minimal. A few guard posts and sensor arrays. The Council had grown soft in their long years of peace. They hadn't fought a real war in thousands of years. The team landed silently in the hills overlooking the facility. Ryan used his enhanced vision to zoom in on the guard patrols. 6 guards at the main gate. 2 patrol teams on the perimeter. "Internal security unknown," he reported to his team. "We move in 5 minutes." The soldiers prepared their weapons. Silent pulse rifles designed to leave no trace of how they worked. Council scientists would find no evidence of who or what had attacked them. When the time came, they moved like shadows toward the facility. The first guard patrol never saw them coming. 4 Araxian guards fell silently, stunned by precisely aimed pulse shots. Ryan had given orders to avoid killing when possible. This wasn't about slaughter. It was about sending a message. At the main gate, 2 soldiers deployed small devices that scrambled the security systems. The massive doors slid open without an alarm. The humans slipped inside. "East team, secure the control center," Ryan ordered over the secure comlink. "West team, find the data storage. My team will locate the main processing area." The soldiers moved through the facility like ghosts. The few council workers they encountered were quickly stunned and secured. These aliens had never faced anything like the humans from Haven. They had no defense against such efficiency. Ryan led his team to the central processing chamber. Inside, massive machines hummed as they refined raw Novium into the pure form needed for faster-than-light communications. He placed sensors around the room, collecting data on the process. "Control center secure," came the report from the East team. "Data storage found. Downloading technical specifications now," reported the West team. Ryan smiled. The mission was going perfectly. He placed a small device in the center of the room, a self-destruct mechanism that would leave no trace of how it worked. "All teams, complete your tasks and move to extraction point," he ordered. "We have 5 minutes." As the humans withdrew from the facility, no alarms had yet sounded. The council workers were still secured, unharmed but unable to interfere. The technical data was safely downloaded. Back on the hills overlooking the facility, Ryan watched as his team boarded the waiting ship. He was the last to enter, turning to look at the Novium facility one more time. "Detonation in 3, 2, 1, counted Greg from the pilot's seat. A brilliant flash of light erupted from the facility. When it faded, the buildings were collapsed, the processing equipment destroyed. No explosives had been used, just a chain reaction in the Novium itself. "First strike complete," Ryan reported as the ship rose toward space, returning to fleet. The first blow in humanity's 50,000-year quest for vengeance had been struck. The Council would soon discover they were not as safe as they believed. The 7 High Counselors gathered in the Great Chamber on Nexus Prime. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, but the mood was dark. News of the attack on the Krell Ix facility had reached them hours ago. Now they argued about what it meant. High Counselor Zex pounded his forearms on the table. The Araxian was known for his quick temper. This attack was no accident. Someone targeted our Novium supply. Holograms floated above the table, showing the destroyed facility. Nothing remained but rubble and twisted metal. The Council's investigators had found no clues about who was responsible. "Perhaps it was Outer Rim rebels," suggested Counselor Thera. The Solvarian's smooth blue skin reflected the light as she gestured at the images. "They have caused trouble before. Rebels lack such technology," said Counselor Morth of the Krell species. His insect-like eyes blinked rapidly. "This attack shows planning and resources beyond any known rebel group." The counselors fell silent as Counselor Vex entered the chamber. The Medusan was the oldest member of the council, said to be over 3,000 years old. His species lived far longer than the others. His body seemed to float rather than walk, wrapped in shimmering robes. "I have reviewed the security recordings," Vex said, his voice soft but commanding. "The attackers disabled our systems with technology we have never seen before. They move with unusual speed and strength." "Pirates, then? Or perhaps one of the unaligned worlds?" asked Thera. Vex shook his head slowly. "There is something familiar about the precision of this attack. It reminds me of historical records from the Terran incident." The other counselors shifted uncomfortably. The Terran incident was rarely discussed. It was ancient history, a regrettable but necessary action from 50,000 years ago. "Impossible," said Zex firmly. "The humans were destroyed. Their planet was broken apart. No species could survive such destruction. And even if some escaped, they were primitive," added Morth. "They had barely achieved basic spaceflight. They could not have advanced to challenge us, even in 50,000 years." Vex seemed unconvinced. "We should not dismiss any possibility. I suggest we increase security at all Novium facilities immediately." "Agreed," said Thera. "And send investigators to the outer systems. Find these criminals and make an example of them." The council voted and the motion passed. Guards were dispatched to protect the remaining Novium facilities. Investigators were sent to search for clues. None of them noticed the Solvarian data specialist, who quietly left the observation gallery above the chamber. Lisa Martinez had heard everything she needed. The council was blind to the true threat. They couldn't imagine that humans had survived, let alone returned. Lisa found a private communication booth and activated her secure link to the human fleet. The signal was disguised as routine data traffic, invisible to council monitors. "Eagle to nest," she said quietly in the ancient human language none of the council species could understand. "The council suspects nothing. They believe it might be rebels or pirates. Only the Medusan, Vex, mentioned Earth, but the others dismissed him." Admiral Carter's voice came back clearly. "Well done, Eagle. Their blindness works in our favor. Are they increasing security at the other facilities?" "Yes, but nothing that will stop our teams," Lisa replied. "Standard guards and sensors. They have no idea what they're really facing." "Perfect," said Carter. "Phase 2 begins in 48 hours. All strike teams are in position. Be ready for extraction once the communications network goes down." Lisa ended the transmission and erased all evidence of it from the booth's systems. She stepped back into the crowded hallway of the council building. Just another Solvarian going about her business. In 2 days, the council would learn that their comfortable world was about to change forever. The children of Earth were about to reveal themselves, and 50,000 years of preparation were about to pay off. As she walked toward her assigned quarters, Lisa passed a historical display. It showed the 7 council races standing together in unity. The text spoke of peace and prosperity under council rule. It mentioned nothing about destroyed worlds or erased species. That would change soon. Very soon. Admiral John Carter stood on the bridge of the Vengeance and watched as the human fleet gathered at the edge of council space. 100 ships formed a perfect formation against the backdrop of stars. Each ship was a masterpiece of technology, far more advanced than anything the council races possessed. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said Peter Wright from his station. "Strike teams are in position near all remaining Novium facilities." John nodded. After the successful first strike on Krell Ix, the rest of the plan was now in motion. Lisa had confirmed that the council remained blind to the true nature of the threat. Their arrogance would be their downfall. "What about our agent?" John asked. Lisa reports that she's secured her extraction route, Peter replied. Once we begin Phase 2, she'll have a 4-hour window to reach the rendezvous point. John turned as the main door to the bridge slid open. Sophia White, the fleet's chief scientist, entered carrying a datapad. Her white lab coat stood out against the dark uniforms of the bridge crew. Dr. White, John greeted her. What news? Sophia's eyes gleamed with excitement. We've fully analyzed the data from Krell AX. The Novium refinement process is exactly what we thought. We can now jam their faster-than-light communications with targeted energy pulses. She handed John the datapad. On it were complex equations and diagrams showing how the Novium particles could be disrupted. It was the key to crippling the Council's vast empire. Once we jammed their communications, Sophia explained, each sector of their empire will be cut off from the others. Their defense fleets won't be able to coordinate. Their leadership won't be able to give orders. John studied the data, a small smile forming on his face. How long will the disruption last? With the power sources on our ships, we can maintain the jamming field indefinitely, Sophia said. Perfect, John thought. This was even better than they had hoped. The Council had ruled the galaxy through their control of faster-than-light communication. Without it, their power would crumble. Admiral, called out a sensor officer, we're detecting increased patrol activity near the Novium facilities. The Council has added security as expected. Will it be a problem for our strike teams? John asked. Peter shook his head. Not at all. Our stealth technology is generations beyond their sensors. They're looking in the right places, but with the wrong tools. John walked to the main view screen, which showed a map of Council space. 7 points of light marked the remaining Novium facilities. Soon, all would be under human control or destroyed. 50,000 years, John said quietly. 50,000 years we've waited for this moment. Our ancestors watched Earth die. They fled to Haven with nothing but their determination to survive and someday return. The bridge crew fell silent, feeling the weight of history on their shoulders. Every human on Haven grew up hearing the stories of Earth's destruction. They all knew why they existed, to bring justice to those who had tried to exterminate humanity. Begin Phase 2, John ordered. All strike teams move in simultaneously. Activate the Novium jamming fields. Let's show the Council that humanity's destruction wasn't the end of our story. It was just the beginning of theirs. Throughout the fleet, pilots and crews sprang into action. Ships detached from the formation and headed toward their targets, still invisible to Council sensors. On 7 worlds, human strike teams prepared to move against the Novium facilities. In her quarters on Nexus Prime, Lisa Martinez received the coded signal. Phase 2 had begun. She quickly packed her few belongings and prepared for extraction. Soon, her role as a spy would end, and she would rejoin her people for the final phase of humanity's return. On the Vengeance, John Carter watched as the jamming fields activated. Across Council space, their faster-than-light communications began to fail. Confusion would soon turn to panic. And then, finally, the Council would learn the truth. The humans had returned, and their vengeance would reshape the galaxy. Alarms blared throughout the Council chamber on Nexus Prime. The 7 High Counselors rushed into the emergency meeting room, their faces showing fear and confusion. Reports were coming in from across Council space. All 7 remaining Novium facilities had been attacked simultaneously. Worse, the faster-than-light communication network was failing across entire sectors. What is happening? Demanded High Counselor Zex, his 4 arms waving in agitation. How can all facilities be under attack at once? The large screen on the wall showed static and broken images from different worlds. Security feeds cut in and out as the communication network struggled to function. We are blind, said Counselor Morth, his insect eyes reflecting the flashing emergency lights. Many sectors cannot be contacted. Defense fleets cannot receive orders. Counselor Vex moved to the center of the room, his ancient Medusan body seeming to glow with inner light. I have received a transmission. The attackers have revealed themselves. The room fell silent as Vex activated the small device. A hologram appeared above the council table. It showed a human face. Admiral John Carter. Greetings, Galactic Council, the hologram said in perfect council standard language. You do not know me, but I know you. 50,000 years ago, your predecessors destroyed my people's homeworld, Earth. They believed they had erased humanity from existence. The counselors stared in shock. It was impossible. No humans could have survived the destruction of Earth. As you can see, the hologram continued, they were wrong. Some of us escaped. We found a new home. We rebuilt. We evolved. And we never forgot what you did to Earth. This cannot be, whispered Thera. Humans were primitive. They could barely reach their own moon when the council acted. The humans you knew are gone, said Carter's hologram. We are their children, shaped by 50,000 years on a world harsher than you can imagine. Your sensors cannot detect our ships. Your weapons cannot harm our soldiers. Your defenses cannot stop us. The door to the chamber burst open. A council security officer rushed in, panting. High Counselors, we have confirmed reports. All Novium facilities have been captured or destroyed. Our entire communication network will be down within hours. Panic erupted among the counselors. Zex demanded immediate military response, but the officer explained that without faster-than-light communications, their vast defense fleet was scattered across thousands of worlds and could not be coordinated. Through it all, Lisa Martinez stood quietly in her corner of the room. Still disguised as a Solvarian data specialist, she had been called to the emergency meeting to help assess the damage to the communication network. She watched as the council's power crumbled before her eyes. We should negotiate, Lisa suggested, her voice carefully modulated to hide her satisfaction. If these are truly human descendants, perhaps we can reach an agreement. Negotiate. With a species we tried to exterminate, Counselor Vex asked, turning his ancient eyes toward her. Would you negotiate in their position? Before anyone could answer, the hologram of Admiral Carter spoke again. We do not seek the complete destruction of your species, despite the precedent you set with Earth. We are not like you. We will send a representative to Nexus Prime in 24 hours to discuss terms. Until then, consider your history and what justice might look like for a crime 50,000 years in the making. A hologram vanished, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Could they really be humans? Asked Thera finally. Vex nodded slowly. The historical records show that humans were adaptable, resourceful, and dangerously persistent. It seems those traits served them well. Lisa slipped out of the chamber as the counselors continued their frantic discussion. Her work here was done. It was time to drop her disguise and rejoin her people. In 24 hours, the Galactic Council would face humanity's judgment. 50,000 years of waiting was about to end. As she walked through the halls of the council building one last time, Lisa smiled. Earth would finally have its justice. The Grand Council chamber on Nexus Prime was silent as Eric Peters walked in. He was the first human most of the council species had seen in 50,000 years. They stared at him with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and hatred. Eric had been chosen for this mission because he looked the most like ancient humans. Most people from Haven had changed over the millennia. Their bodies had grown stronger and taller to survive the harsh conditions of their adopted planet. But Eric's family line had maintained more of the original human appearance, making him perfect for this historic moment. 4 floating combat drones followed Eric into the chamber. They were not needed for protection, but they sent a clear message about human technology. The drones moved with perfect precision, their sensors scanning everything. The 7 high counselors sat at their curved table. Behind them stood representatives from major worlds across council space. All watched as Eric took his position in the center of the chamber. I bring terms from Admiral Carter and the Human Liberation Fleet, Eric announced, his voice strong and clear. He carried no visible weapons. He didn't need them. Eric looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each counselor. Humanity does not seek the extinction of your species, despite the precedent you set 50,000 years ago. We are not you. He activated a small device, and a hologram appeared showing the terms of surrender. The council members leaned forward to read. First, the Galactic Council will be dissolved. Each species will retain their homeworld and colonies, but must disarm their military vessels. Angry murmurs swept through the chamber. Councillor Zex stood up, his forearms trembling with rage. This is outrageous. You cannot. We can, Eric interrupted calmly. And we will. Your faster-than-light communication network is down. Your defense fleets are scattered and isolated. We control your novium supply. Your empire is already broken. Zex sat down slowly, his anger replaced by grim understanding. The council had no leverage. The humans held all the power. Eric continued reading the terms. Second, a significant portion of council resources will go toward reparations for Earth's destruction. Third, you will acknowledge your crime against Earth in a permanent memorial constructed where Earth once orbited. The terms went on, each one stripping away more of the council's power and authority. When Eric finished, the chamber was completely silent. Councillor Thera finally spoke, her voice bitter. Why such mercy? You could destroy us completely. Eric's expression remained neutral. Because our vengeance isn't about your destruction. It's about ensuring you live long enough to witness our ascension. He let those words sink in before continuing. Humanity was judged unworthy of joining the galactic community. You decided we were too dangerous, too unpredictable. Instead of guiding us, you tried to erase us. That mistake will echo through history for thousands of years. Councillor Vex, the ancient Medusan, floated forward. I have studied the records of the Terran incident. The council of that time feared what humans might become if allowed to develop freely. It seems their fears were justified. Yes, Eric agreed. But their solution created exactly what they feared most, a humanity shaped by the harshest conditions, driven by a single purpose for 50,000 years. You could have had humans as allies. Instead, you created your own worst nightmare. Vex bowed his head slightly. The burden of that mistake will haunt our species for generations. As it should, Eric said. He placed a data crystal on the table. These are the formal surrender documents. You have 12 hours to sign them. If you refuse, Admiral Carter will proceed with alternative measures. No one asked what those alternative measures might be. They didn't need to. As Eric turned to leave, Councillor Thera called out, What happens to us after we sign? Eric paused at the doorway. You will live. You will rebuild. You will teach your children about Earth, and you will watch as humanity takes its rightful place among the stars, not as the species you tried to destroy, but as the power that destroyed you. The door closed behind him, leaving the council to face the end of their 50,000-year reign. 5 years passed since the surrender of the Galactic Council. John Carter stood at the observation window of the massive space station that now orbited where Earth once existed. The station served as both a memorial to the lost homeworld and the new center of human authority in the galaxy. Through the window, John could see the asteroid field that was all that remained of humanity's birthplace. Small lights twinkled among the rocks as worker ships continued construction on the memorial. Soon, powerful energy fields would arrange the largest asteroids into a perfect sphere, recreating the shape of Earth. At its core would burn an eternal flame, visible across light years of space. Admiral, they're ready for you, said Peter Wright, who had stayed by John's side through it all. John nodded and turned away from the window. Together, they walked to the main conference room, where representatives from across the galaxy waited. The room was circular, with a large round table at its center. Around it sat humans alongside members of the former council races. The last 5 years had seen enormous changes. The former council species had complied with the terms of surrender. Their once vast military fleets had been disarmed. Their political power had diminished to a fraction of what it once was. Some had adapted better than others to the new reality. Lisa Martinez was already in the room when John entered. After completing her mission as a spy on Nexus Prime, she now served as the chief diplomatic liaison to the former Council worlds. She had proven remarkably skilled at helping the defeated species transition to the new order. Some of them are beginning to understand, Lisa told John quietly as they took their seats. Especially the younger generations. They see Earth's destruction as the great crime it was. John looked around the table at the alien faces. Some still showed resentment, but others displayed genuine respect. And the education program. In full effect, Lisa replied, "Every child across all former Council worlds now learns the true history. Earth will never be forgotten again." John nodded with satisfaction. This had been one of the most important terms of surrender, that the story of Earth and its destruction would be taught to all species. The truth would not be hidden or rewritten. The meeting began with reports from various sectors. Despite initial resistance, trade was flourishing under the new human-led governance structure. Scientific cooperation between humans and the former Council races had led to breakthroughs that benefited all. When the formal reports concluded, John stood to address the gathering. Today marks 5 years since the signing of the surrender terms. 5 years of building a new order in the galaxy. He paused, looking at each face around the table. Our ancestors waited 50,000 years for justice. They could have sought only vengeance, the complete destruction of your species as you attempted with ours. Instead, they chose a different path. John gestured to the large view screen on the wall. It activated to show a fleet of new ships, built with combined human and Council technology, preparing to depart from the space station. These ships will explore beyond the borders of known space. Their crews include members of all our species working together. Even the former Councilors seemed impressed by the sight. The ships were unlike anything seen before in the galaxy, merging the best technologies of all worlds. Humanity's second chapter begins now, John said. We have reclaimed our place in the galaxy. We have obtained justice for Earth. Now we look to the future. He returned to his seat as discussion began about the expedition beyond known space. As the meeting continued, John felt a deep sense of completion. The mission that had driven humanity for 50,000 years had been accomplished. Earth had been avenged. And now something new was beginning. From the ashes of Earth, humanity had not only returned and obtained vengeance, it had inherited the galaxy and was building something greater than had existed before. The children of Earth had come home, and the stars would never be the same again.